We're in Zolder for the second round of the 2013 FIA GT Series. The first race in Nogaro was an absolute thriller, with rain coming into play as well, which may well happen here at this famous Belgian circuit with its notorious Belgian weather. But there was one man who stole the headlines in Nogaro, Sebastien Loeb. He won his debut race. Let's see how.
Stop. Now try on the right side. Quick jump, Sebastien. Quick jump.
Starting from pole position after winning the qualifying race, Loeb held the lead into the main race, which was started behind the safety car because of the wet conditions. There was some bumping and some boring, Carlos Vieira holding a very impressive slide after he came under attack from Caca Bueno, but up at the front it was a battle between Loeb and Mayer-Melnoff. Matthias Stumpf got pushed onto the grass coming down towards the hairpin in some fantastic racing, but that was the key moment of the race. Sebastien Loeb taking off his seatbelts before he was allowed to, and later on that would see him be given a drive-through penalty, even though he came out second to René Rast, who was now in the lead. Alvaro Parent tapped the back of Rast, which sent Rast spinning down the order, but because of the McLaren's penalty, Rast would then get past again. Laurens Vanthoor fought his way through to take third place overall, taking 2 places on the final lap. René Rast and Nicky Mayer-Melnoff crossed the line to win the race. They were then handed a 30-second penalty for not turning off their engine at the pit stops, which meant that WRT came over with a 1-2. Edvard Sandström and Frank Stippler winning the race, with Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor finishing in second. The BMW Team Brazil squad enjoyed a decent weekend in their first outing in the FIA GT Series, but Caca Bueno is now hoping for more.
In the first part of the lap, we have a lot of fast corners. The BMW go well in this part of circuits. In the last part of circuits, not so good because not so much power, but I believe in a good weekend.
The HTP Gravity Charoux squad had an excellent weekend in Nogaro, and coming here to Zolder, Alan Day and Maximilian Buch are second in the championship. Day, though, isn't as confident this weekend.
I'm not expecting too much result here in Zolder because it's not really fit, the Mercedes car here, but actually it looks okay. I'm looking forward for good results also, like Nogaro.
There's quite a lot of Belgian drivers in the field, and 2 of them are at Phoenix Racing. Anthony Kumpen is a regular Spa 24-hour racer, and he's joined by Enzo Eid.
For us, Zolder is our home track, so Anthony won 6 times the 24 hours of Zolder, and I won it 1 time, so we have a lot of fans over here, and for sure we want to have the best possible result over here.
While Sebastien Loeb and Alvaro Parent took the headlines, it was a difficult weekend for the sister car at Sebastien Loeb Racing. Mike Parisi and Andreas Zuber are looking to put things back on track here in Belgium.
In Nogaro we were super quick, and in the end we had no results, so it was quite frustrating. And here I think we're also quite quick. Without all the problems what we had in Nogaro, we should be ready for a podium.
WRT Audi dominated in Nogaro with Edvard Sandström and Frank Stippler leading the championship here in Belgium, but Laurens Vanthoor can see the Zolder circuit every time he brushes his teeth in the morning, so he should be strong.
It's a home race for me, it's a home race for the Belgian Audi Club, for WRT, so it's an important weekend for us. I think we are pretty good. It's difficult to predict, we have to wait and see tomorrow qualifying, and from then on I hope we can do a good job. We will try our best.
A new entry for this weekend is the Reiter Engineering Lamborghini of Peter Cox and Stefan Rosina. The Lamborghini should be strong around this Zolder circuit, as Hans Reiter, the team boss, explains.
In the past years, Lamborghini was always very strong on this circuit. I must say it's our favorite circuit. Today we only reached 5th position, which was a bit of a disappointment. We are competitive, but do we really go for the podium? It will be a hard fight, and I'm much less optimistic than I have been yesterday.
The number 7 Road Drive Competitions car are a little bit disappointed with how their machine is performing here in Zolder, but Matthias Stumpf is still confident they can get something out of the weekend.
is the best for us to rain in the track, then the track be dry. We know we have a good car on the first part of the circuit, and I think this will give some advantages to us, get a good result here.
The biggest surprise from Nogaro was probably the Pro-Am pairing of Cesar Campanico and Carlos Vieira in their Audi R8. Campanico is hoping for more success this weekend.
I think we have a good pace. We are in the top 3 Pro-Am, which is our aim. The race, the important is to keep good points for the Pro-Am category.
The Grasser Racing Lamborghini was a late addition to the entry in Nogaro, and as a result, things were a little bit difficult to get used to. Harry Procek knew the car already, but for Baumann it was a different story.
I'm used to it because I drove last year with Leipert also in the EM, and but for Dominic it was completely new. I think for the first time we do a good job, especially in the rain. It works well, so hopefully we can do here the same good job than in Nogaro.
RJ and Nissan, running the GT Academy drivers, will be looking for another strong performance. Wolfgang Reip is at his home circuit, and he's joined by the Russian Mark Shulshitsky.
For us it's hard, it's first time in this championship in this car, so every time we learn a lot, and now we learn track in Zolder, which is very difficult. I hope it will be okay for us.
AF Corse Ferrari didn't race in Nogaro because Fabio Onidi crashed into the pit wall in qualifying. Naturally, he's going to be hoping he can perform a little better here in Belgium.
We are positive from tomorrow. We expect something good. I'm not sure because in the last free practice we didn't try with the rain. So we expect something good, but we will see.
Seyfarth Motorsport have ended a second Mercedes SLS this weekend. Paulo Bonifacio is a regular GT driver, and Duda Rossa is the reigning Brazilian GT champion.
I feel like I'm home. I like to race here. It's a very professional races and drivers and teams. We do the rest of this championship, the next 5 races. Let's see if you can get some victories or the title.
So more than 20 drivers will be fighting to claim top honours in both their class and overall. It's set to be a thrilling weekend of racing. Good afternoon and welcome to the qualifying race for the second round of the FIA GT Series of 2013. Our trip around the world takes us to Belgium next here at the Zolder circuit, and what an exciting afternoon of racing it's set to be. My name's Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in the commentary box is a man who knows Zolder very well, John Watson. So as the cars come around turn 2 and 3 on pole position, we have Stephane Ortelli in that number 24 Lamborghini Blancpain Reiter engineering car. Alongside him on the front row of the grid is going to be Sergei Afanasiev in the number 2 HTP Gravity Charouz car. Here's a look at the grid in actual fact, so you will see Rossina on pole, Afanasiev alongside him in the Mercedes. The second row of the grid sees Laurens Vanthoor at his home race alongside Mike Parisi in the first, Sebastien Loeb racing McLaren. Frank Stippler and Anthony Kumpen are then behind. Anthony Kumpen, also another Belgian driver. René Rast, expect to see him come through the field a little bit more because the Audis were a little bit surprisingly slow when it came down to it in qualifying. Alex Buncombe and Caca Bueno completing the top 10, the first of our Brazilian drivers. He's closely followed by his teammate Sergio Jimenez and Cesar Campanico, the Portuguese driver. The only Ferrari out of Fabio Onidi is starting there in 14th place. Karun Chandok will start in 15th place, the ex-Formula 1 racer alongside Matthias Stumpf. Wolfgang Reip we saw get away, and Paulo Bonifacio making his debut to the series, a second Mercedes SLS being entered by Seyfarth Motorsport. That machine is all orange, very, very easy to spot, and Alvaro Parent will bring up the rear. We're on board with Alvaro Parent then, the last man in the field, and they will all start to move into their 2x2 formation now. So Stephane Ortelli on pole position in the Lamborghini. Alongside him will be Sergei Afanasiev. The qualifying race for round 2 about to get underway. The Lamborghini of Stephane Ortelli on pole position when the lights go out. Everyone's staring at the red lights. They go out now. It's a great start from Anthony Kumpen looking towards the inside. He's blocked off though on the run down to the first corner. Little bit of contact in the middle, but it looks as though Ortelli has held the lead going into turn 1. Afanasiev is pushed out wide. Vanthoor slots into second place. Trying to get around the outside there is René Rast. René Rast is up in a 3rd position. That's a phenomenal start. On board we go with Caca Bueno now, battling in the field he looks like he's lost a number of places. That's the Grasser Racing Lamborghini coming past. Afanasiev runs wide onto the grass, keeps it all together on the run down into turn 4. But the long and short of it is, Stephane Racina leads, and I think René Rast has gone from way down on the 4th row of the grid up into 3rd place.
Well, brilliant start from a driver who knows how to get around a lap, the opening lap of any race, and use the long way round. Everybody will naturally dive towards the inside as the cars fight their way through the first of the 3 chicanes, and then up and over the hill and the drop down into turns 8 and 9.
So down through this sweeping left-hander. It's Stephane Racina out in the lead, but it's WRT 2 and 3. Afanasiev will be very frustrated that he got kind of bullied out at the first corner, which is always going to happen if you're starting on the outside, as we go back on board then with Alvaro Parent. That's Karun Chandok in front of him. This is a challenge from the Nova driver car, trying to get past Matej Stumpf, but he's unable to do it just yet. He's going to have another look down into turn 12, the hairpin. But the BMW is really struggling in a straight line, and as a result, he can't seem to get close to the back of Dominic Baumann at the moment.
Well, a little bit of progress from Alvaro Parent. He's made up 3 positions now. The Nissan getting embroiled in the battle with the BMW and the Ferrari. And Alex Buncombe in that car, and going one way and back the other way.
Into the left-hander they come. And so it's Sergio Jimenez ahead of Fabio Anidi, ahead of Alex Buncombe. As they turn through turn 1, that's all the squabble over 9th place with that BMW up at the front, but 0.8 of a second is the gap at the front that Stephane Racina has managed to pull out over Laurens Vanthoor. And here comes Buncombe now, trying to get back past Anidi as they come into turn 4.
Well, so this car, the Nissan, being really strong in a straight line, and we can go Monza, different events, the GT Series, but same driver, same basic car, but not able to do anything with the Ferrari in the climb up the hill into the chicane. Turn 5, turn 6, quick left, quick right, stay off the curbs, can do damage if you don't.
Over the hill they come. Jimenez in 9th place, starting to back everyone up. Laurens Vanthoor's just gone purple in sector 1, so he's the quickest man on the circuit at the moment as they wind their way through these chicanes. And look at how heavily Karun Chandok is having to defend. In fact, Matej Stumpf has got past Alvaro Parent, so Parent was right behind Chandok as we go on board with him, but now he's got a Ford GT in between him and the Mercedes in front.
Well, I think Alvaro Parent just found himself in the wrong bit of track at the wrong time. He's now looking to dive down the inside, one of the favourite places to try and make an overtake. Does it successfully into turn 12.
Here's the race lead though. The gap is very, very close between the two of them. Stephane Racina, the Slovakian driver, holding off Laurens Vanthoor at the moment. There's Hans Reiter, very happy to be in the series. They missed the opening round in Nagaro, but they're here for the rest of the season. It's brilliant to have them here, especially if they're going to contribute to such fantastic racing up at the front. Look how close Vanthoor is now.
Well, he said he drove the best race of his life, he thought. 2 to 3 weekends ago in Nagaro, he's doing it again, right on the tail of the Lamborghini and being chased by René Rast. He's not going to give Vanthoor 1 centimetre of track. If he can see a gap, he'll go for it.
Absolutely, it's fantastic racing up at the front. The 3 of them head out along the back straight once again for the 4th time towards the chicane. And Sergei Afanasiev needs to be careful because he's got Mike Parisi right up behind him. And has the move been made here? Yes, Caca Bueno has got past the Lamborghini. And now Dominic Baumann's coming under pressure from Cesar Campanico in the Nova driver Audi. So good work there. And in the background you can see that Alvaro Parent has just dealt with Karun Chandok. Yep, Alvaro Parent in the 9 McLaren.
Yeah, up to 15th place.
The door's open on that Mercedes, isn't it? As it comes across the line. The door's open. And here we go on board with Caca Bueno. This is the move then being, that's opportunistic.
Good that stuff. Certainly was a brave manoeuvre. Back end kicked out coming out of turn 1.
Stephane's pushing, isn't he, as they come into turn 2, and that will allow Laurens Vanthoor to close in a little bit. Peter Charouz has managed to shut his door.
Let's look again. He runs the curve, and then the back end just sort of snaps, a very sudden snap oversteer. Unpredictable from a driver's point of view.
Brilliant racing here in FIA GT Series. Off goes on Edie. Him and Jimenez may have had a little coming together. Alex Buncombe on the outside, trying to get past. Here comes Caca Bueno as well to try and take advantage, but obviously the BMW is going to struggle in a straight line. So close between them. We're looking at it from board with Parent as they come into turn 1. Onidi doesn't know Bueno's there, does he? There's just about room. Buncombe holds the position. Jimenez drops in behind. Parent's going to try and get past Onidi. Good stuff from Alvaro Parent, and Onidi loses 3 places in as many moments. Let's see how he did it then, John.
Yes, this is a typical perfect position of the car. Bueno goes to the inside of the main pit straight to block the McLaren going down as they come into turn 1. But the McLaren just had that little bit more speed. Also was able to turn in that little bit later. Gives room on the inside for the BMW to make sure he doesn't pinch the Brazilian driver. gets the position and a relatively easy overtake.
Has Alvaro Perrin just made a move on Alex Buncombe? Yes, he has. So Alvaro Perrin is now up into 10th position.
Well, let's look and see into turn 5. Oh, and then the Nissan gets all over the place. Hip, hop, skip and a jump. And that's where the car didn't get past all the way around, the long way around, the risky way around the outside, because it's very dirty in the outside.
Alvaro Perrin still, though, staring at the back of this BMW now.
Well, Sergio Jimenez is a different experience to that of Caca Bueno, with his European experience, and he knows how to use the track. Alvaro Perrin looks down the inside. Is there contact? Oh, what an error, what an error. That was no way. That's going to be a penalty for Alvaro Perrin. He was not clear enough to make that manoeuvre as he dived down into the inside.
This is Bueno now, isn't it? This is Bueno, Jimenez's teammate. But, well, I was just singing Alvaro's praises, but he did a very similar thing in Nogaro, didn't he? Hitting René Rast. Who's going to come out in the lead? It is
Audi.
Laurens Vanthoor has got past Stephane Ortelli.
Well, that's probably a great manoeuvre down into turn 1. We'll probably get a look at that a little bit later.
And here's the battle now for seconds.
Oh, René
Rast attacking.
He nearly overran the back of Rosina there into turn 1, but again he's going to go one way, then cut down the inside of turn 2, puts the Audi in the inside. I mean, how easy was that?
The pit stop window opens, so in comes Sergio Jimenez, in comes Dominic Baumann, and in comes Karun Chandok. So interesting to see how that pans out. But there is the 13 Audi, which is actually leading the championship. Frank Stippler and Edward Sandstrom, after winning the main race in France, are the current championship leaders, but that may well change here because they're down in 7th place, but looking very, very close. Now, you'd think that they would pit as soon as possible, wouldn't you, to get out from behind that Audi in front.
I mean, it's obvious you want to get out of this battle. Frank Stippler's been basically running behind Anthony Kumpert all race, quicker than Kumpert in the identical Audis. Frank Stippler not likely to do anything too... Oh, that's nice. Close the door, guys. What are you doing? Gee, I mean, you're not playing football.
Sergio Jimenez a little bit frustrated. That's
never. I mean, that's a sort of a Nelson.
And that's going to be a close release between the BMW and the Mercedes. The BMW has to get out of it, and well, all sorts going on. That's a lot of flair down at the Brazilian garage at the moment, but that means the Mercedes actually got past. The door's open again. Someone needs to kick that one as they come into the right-hander. Oh, look at this. These 3 cars that were battling over 6th place have now come into the pits line astern. This is going to be fun, isn't it?
Well, Frank Stippler turned right and he almost hit the barrier. He thought he was going into the pit lane a little bit quicker than he actually was.
Don't take off your seatbelts, Alvaro, until you've actually come to a stop.
What he's done is loosened the shoulder straps, which you're allowed to do. It's undoing the buckle that holds the whole harness together, brings it to a stop. Now the hand on the belts, gets out pretty quick indeed getting out of the car.
Now, Perrin was behind this queue. That queue of 3 cars, he was behind. So if he can get a good pit stop here, he might be able to get out in front. This is going to be absolutely fascinating. The order was Phoenix, WRT, Gravity Charouz, then Sebastien Loeb racing. We'll see if any of them can take an advantage. There is Sebastien Loeb then, strapped into his car, fires up the engine, and away he goes, and he's got past them all.
But he's also still pulling on his seatbelt as he's moving.
Well, he's got past the Phoenix Audi, so maybe he hasn't got past them all. No, HTP Gravity Charouz machine comes out, then Loeb, then the Phoenix Audi. Out climbs Stephane Ortelli, and in climbs Peter Cox, the 49-year-old Dutchman from Eindhoven, very experienced racer. In comes Laurens Vanthoor to hand over to Stephane Ortelli. Now, they can't come in at the same time, can they? Because it's just one WRT squad, so that means that René Rast now inherits the lead of this race as he comes across the line, moves into the lead, but he'll be coming into the pits before too long.
So Stephane Ortelli into what had been the lead Audi. Great job by Laurens Vanthoor to get ahead of Stephane Ortelli in the Lamborghini. Pulled away. There is the Lamborghini now with Peter Cox. So it's going to be tight because Peter Cox is half a kilometre away as the Audi still getting serviced in the pit lane of the Jacks now. Should be fairly comfortable.
Bit of a slow getaway, but Peter Cox,
Cox comes over
close enough. So Peter Cox comes over the start-finish straight. Stephane Ortelli is already coming around the exit of turn 1, so Ortelli holds the position to Peter Cox
easily.
Drive-through penalty for Sebastien Loeb. for contact with car 21, which was obviously Sergio Jimenez. And so it's a drive-through penalty for Sebastien Loeb. We saw it coming, his teammate Alvaro Perrin.
I think the thing that's unfortunate is that it's Sebastien Loeb who's got to serve the penalty for his co-driver, who was the perpetrator of the issue. It comes Sebastien Loeb for the drive-through penalty, taking it as early as possible, which he's required to do. Then René Rast almost overrunning the tail of his sister Audi.
Yep, that was the Nova driver car, I think, of Carlos Vieira, but into the pits then comes René Rast. The battle is going to be predominantly for the lead with Stephane Ortelli, but then secondly, as the car exits the pits, secondly, the battle for second place with Peter Cox. There is Mayer Melnoff. Very impressive. His pace has been... he started the year as an amateur driver, but he was so good in Nogaro that he's become a pro. Brake dust flying off the front brakes as they come into the stops. WRT very, very strong with their pit stops.
René Rast, the shorter of the two drivers, he drives with an insert in the seat, so that the basic seat position remains the same. So when Melnhoff gets into the car, just flips out that insert, jumps into the car, and everything in position of steering wheel, pedals, and all the controls are ideal for the taller driver. He's off. Well, he's off.
This is going to be a bit close, actually. Nicky Melnoff coming down towards turn 1. There's the third place Lamborghini, but it's the lead Audi that's the important one as they come in towards turn 2. Where are we at then? Mayer Melnoff holds into second place just about, but Peter Cox will have hotter tyres.
Correct, that's the key. Peter Cox is on warm tyres. Also the Mercedes slowing down. So look at Peter Cox, he's going to try and make the manoeuvre as quickly as possible. Into turn 4 isn't really possible, easy to defend. Next opportunity, up the hill, get a good drive for Peter Cox in the Lamborghini. Melnhoff is going to stay on the left-hand side on the way up. Now Cox cuts back to the right, gets alongside, but not enough to take the corner.
Oh, it's going to be close between the two of them coming into the chicane. Brilliant racing. Mayer Melnoff defends well. This is the battle over second place in the race. Peter Cox looks to the inside again, but coming into the quick left-hander, it's at turn 7. It's not really an opportunity. Down into the chicane, and this will get Mayer Melnoff a little bit flustered, I think. Oh, he's run a little bit wide coming through the right-hander. That's not going to give Cox an opportunity. These corners out the back of the circuit so fast.
Yeah, but into turn 12 is going to be another opportunity for Peter Cox. Melnhoff is going to have to go very wide. Cox goes to the left, tries to take the traditional line and get the cut back on the outside, and he's got it easy.
Peter Cox makes it through into second place. Nicky Mayer Melnoff in an almost identical manoeuvre to how he lost the lead of the race in Nogaro, just being a little bit too busy looking in his mirrors, misses his braking point. Cox is through.
So we see the fixing the door finally on Ricardo Zonzo's BMW.
And so Andreas Zuber, desperate to try and get past, up into third place. We can now hear from his teammate, Mike Parisi. He's with Emily.
Mike, do you think you can overtake for third?
It is very close with the Audi of Mayer Melnoff and Rast. It's very difficult here to overtake, so we have some very good driver just behind us.
There is a spin, unfortunately, for Lucas Ordóñez. Does a nice little donut to get out of trouble. But
that was probably the result of either trying to overtake or trying to defend, but whatever it was, got it all wrong in turn 12 and the car went wrong.
It must have been with Carlos Vieira.
Well,
yes, there is Carlos Vieira trying to force his way past Ordóñez down into 12, and that's a shame because it's knocked Ordóñez out of third place in the Pro-Am category, and it's also, by the looks of things, knocked something awry within the Nissan itself. They had a bit of contact in the last race, didn't they, in France?
May well be something the stewards will want to investigate.
Sebastien Loeb is in the pit lane here. That's a real shame for Sebastien Loeb. And the left rear wheel is off.
Well, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, couldn't quite catch
whether the wheel came off on its own or whether certainly there's something that they're uncertain about, and I wonder whether that might have been the wheel detaching itself.
The clock hits 0. We're on the final lap of the qualifying race here in Belgium. And I don't think there's anything that Andreas Zuber is going to be able to do. Ortelli on the brakes, into the chicane. Into the final corner comes Stephane Ortelli. He and Vanthor have done a brilliant job today. They wrestled the lead away from the Lamborghini. Ortelli flashes his lights because he's winning. in the qualifying race here in Belgium. Vanthor looking happy with that one in his trademark beanie. Second place for Peter Cox as he comes across the line. Who's going to be third? It's going to be Nicky Meyer-Mounthoff. Very good job for Nicky. He and René Rast finish in third place. This whole queue of 5 cars across the line is Sandstrom, Andreas Simonsen and Alan Day. Enzo Eid will finish in 8th place, which will be a little bit of a disappointment considering they started in 6th, but nevertheless, not bad. They had quite a slow pit stop. 9th place will be Philippe Salaquada, just holding off Jan Seyfarth. Salaquada finishing 2nd in the Pro-Am category, and it'll be 11th place for Alain Coder for BMW Team Brazil. Here's a look at the results from the qualifying race then. Audi, Lamborghini, Audi the top 3, with Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthor taking the victory. 10 seconds clear in the end of Peter Cox and Stefan Racina. Nicky Meyer-Mounthoff and René Rast were finishing in 3rd place because Andy Zuber couldn't do anything about getting past Meyer-Mounthoff in front. Sandstrom and Sippler in 5th place. Simonsen and Afanasiev winning the Pro-Am class. You can tell the Pro-Am by the black around their white number. And that means second in class was Philippe Salaquada and Fabio Anidi in the AF Corsa Ferrari, finishing down in 9th place. 20 runners in the end. And it was a real shame that Paolo Bonifacio and Duda Rosa didn't make it to the end of the race. We'll have to find out exactly what happened with their problem. Mark Szorzycki and Wolfgang Reip finishing in 15th place. I think they'll be fairly satisfied with that because they were struggling after qualifying. And Sebastien Loeb and Alvaro Parent retiring from that one, finishing 6 laps down, and they will have to start tomorrow's race from 17th on the grid. And, well, we can now hear from our race winners. Let's start with Laurens Vanthor.
Laurens Vanthor, congratulations, brilliant drive. Stephane Ortelli brought that Audi home, sweet as a nut.
Yeah, it's fantastic, especially because I live here less than 1 minute from here, so it's really my home race. So for WRT and Audi, it's Belgium Audi Club, it's a home race, so I think we cannot wish each other a better result than that, so very happy.
And you had a good pass on Stefan Rossini in the Lamborghini in your stint.
Yeah, it was difficult to get past him because on the bottom edge, on the acceleration, he was always a little bit better, and it was difficult to get behind on the braking, but then I could put some pressure on him and he made a mistake, and then we could pass him, so it was a nice job.
Well done. Stefan, tell us your story. It looked awfully easy. Nobody to pass, no one to race with.
No, he did the job. I mean, no, the car was really good. I had to fight like hell, trying to set a good pace because you never know, and especially with Peter Cox, he was so fast. I mean, they were unreachable in qualify, so we don't really know how it was going to be for the last lap. So I was a bit struggling in the end, but it's okay. And he did the biggest move of the day again. So yeah, I'm very pleased for him, especially here, and also for WRT. It's our first win this year. Last win we had was Russia. So it's been a long time, you know. Russia was end of August, so we are pleased to win again together.
Well done, guys. Pole position for tomorrow.
Indeed, that's the most important point, Watty. Pole position for tomorrow. Now let's hear from our second place finisher, Peter Cox.
Peter Cox, second place. You must be reasonably pleased.
Yes, that's the correct word. Reasonably pleased. I mean, our car was not as good as we wanted it to be, and the qualifying the car was really mega. And now it was quite a hard struggle to drive it. I think Stefan did already a good job, and you know, we maintained second place. Stefan was too far away from me, so I just nursed the car, you know, and tried to go as fast as I could. But that was really the maximum we could do today.
Great to see Reiter here in the FIA GT Series, and even better to see them doing so well up at the top of the field. And we can now hear from René Rast. He's also with Nicky Meyer-Mounthoff there with John.
Nicky, gave me a heart attack. I thought you'd vanished. Third place, great drive.
Yeah, fantastic. Now we had make it stick. Last time it was a really good show, but this was really incredible. I sit in the pits and look at the amazing start from René. He pushed amazing, and I sit there and try not to mess things up. And yeah, it was really tough from the pressure behind. I couldn't make a mistake, but it was, yeah, we saved third place. It's a good position for tomorrow.
So it should be. You're a professional driver now.
No, not yet. But I'm learning from René. I'm learning from the best, and each weekend I think I can learn something more, and I try to.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the main race of the second round of the FIA GT Series of 2013. This second round coming to you from Belgium and the Zolder circuit, just outside of Hasselt, about an hour from Brussels. And you can see the busy grid here is starting to form. Just pulling on to the pole position slot there is Peter Cox in his Lamborghini Gallardo. After winning the qualifying race yesterday, he will be starting on pole position. Let's have a look at this Zolder circuit then. It's a classic racetrack, very much in the old-fashioned style of race circuits. Formula One was held here way back from the mid-70s to the mid-80s. There's a few overtaking opportunities, but in general, it is quite difficult to get past. Nevertheless, we saw plenty of overtaking yesterday down into turn 12, the hairpin, and into turn 2. And there is one of the local driver pairings, Anthony Kumpen and Enzo Eid in that number 5 Phoenix Racing Audi. It's a German team that run Phoenix Racing, but both of the drivers are Belgian. 19 degrees the track temperature, 15 degrees the air temperature. A little bit warmer today than it was yesterday. Certainly warmer than it was in qualifying, when I think we were about 4 degrees or something like that. And as ever, a huge Belgian support have come out here to watch the racing. Here's a look at the championship standings at the moment. Edward Sandstrom and Frank Stippler, after winning the main race in France last time out, are leading the championship, only 1 point ahead of Ortelli and Vanthor. WRT in first and second place, and then Max Buch and Alan Day in the HTP Gravity Charouz car are in third, with Nicky Mermanoff and René Rast now in the Pro Cup category. They are in fourth place in the championship currently. Sebastien Loeb and Alvaro Parent down in sixth. Then we've got the first of our Brazilians. Over 20% of the grid is made up of Brazilians, and it's Caca Bueno and Alan Coder who are at the top. Karen Chandok there and Jan Seyfarth, are in 8th position. Parisi, Zuber, Cox and Messina in their first race weekend. So we just saw the Phoenix Racing Audi down there on the grid, and we can now hear from Anthony Kumpen with John Watson.
Anthony Kumpen, Mr. Zolder, this is a 1 hour race. Can you do better than 8th?
I hope so, because 8 is not where we want to be. We want to be minimum on the podium. Yesterday in the start I got closed in a bit, so I had to back off. And then we didn't find the right setup. We did some changes in the warm-up that seemed pretty good. So we hope to go for the podium, yes.
And what have you told Enzo to do in his stint?
I hope he picks some places. You know, the start is very important here in Zolder. The first corner is very tricky. We saw it yesterday. I gave him some input. Let's see if it works.
Have a good one.
Anthony Kumpen has raced the 24 Hours of Zolder 10 times. He's won that race 6 times. He's from Hasselt, which, as I mentioned, is just down the road, so he certainly knows his way around this circuit. And it's good to see him and Enzo out there. We've got a number of other Belgian drivers as well. Laurens Vanthor in the pole starting Audi. His teammate Stephane Ortelli, the Monegasque driver, will be starting it, but then Vanthor will be taking over and would love to win in front of his home crowd. And so we can now hear from Sergei Afanasyev in the number 2 HTP Gravity Charouz car. He's with John.
Sergei Afanasyev, first Mercedes amongst 5 Audis.
Yeah, it's nice to be in here, and it's exciting to be like this surrounded by Belgian Audis, and I'm sure we'll do a proper job, because we are lucky with the weather. It's quite warm, it's dry, so it's the thing to do from us. We do our best.
So the weather is going to help you, do you think?
You know, any weather will help us, and it's just us who can help ourselves. What else to do? And the team. The team done a great job. They improved the car for all the weekend, and I'm sure now it's going to be even better. Thank you.
Very pensive stuff from Sergei Afanasyev there, the man from Moscow, one of 2 Russians in the field. And he's looking forward to this race. HTP Gravity Charouz squad have very good pit stops. They are up towards the front runners as far as pit stop times are concerned. So with Alan Day starting this car, the Israeli driver, there may well be an opportunity for them to challenge for a podium come the end of this race, the end of this 1 hour race. Afanasyev, third in FIA Formula 2 back in 2009 behind Dean Stoneman and Jolyon Palmer, so he's got a reasonable amount of single-seater pedigree. As a result, he's fairly new to GT racing, but is adapting to it very well indeed. As a young fan, what's he got? He's got an Audi flag, so he's going to be supporting one of the plethora of Audis that we've got out there on the circuit. 3 from the Belgian Audi Club team WRT, all of them in the Pro Cup class, so their assault on this FIA GT Series of 2013 is well and truly on. and of course it is one of them that starts on pole position. The second Team WRT Audi starts in third position, and that's in the hands of Nicky Meyer-Melnoff and René Rast. Meyer-Melnoff did a good job yesterday, and we can now hear from their team boss, in fact, for WRT Belgian Audi Club, and that's Pierre Dieudonné. He's down there with Watty.
Pierre Dieudonné, WRT are kind of dominating this weekend.
Well, yesterday was very good for us. All 6 drives made a beautiful race. So we are in a good position, but you know, nothing is for granted here, and you can go from a top position to a disaster very, very easily. So we brief them, and we hope they will behave and make a good race and bring the result we expect.
Yeah, are you saying there are team orders or there aren't team orders?
No, absolutely no team orders, but you know, they have to behave. They have to understand that we are fighting for the team, we are fighting for Audi, and as a driver yourself, you know what it's like. So that's the main thing.
Excellent, thank you, Pierre.
So good to hear from Pierre, and it's fairly sensible words from the boss of the WRT Audi Club. Well, joint boss really, him and Vincent Voss spearheading that operation both here and in the Blancpain Endurance Series, and so it will be a WRT Audi on pole position. And we can now hear from Sebastien Loeb, the famous World Rally champion, what he spoke to him earlier.
Sebastien, Saturday was a difficult day for you and Alvaro.
Yes, sure, it was a very difficult day. We knew before the start that we were disqualified from the qualifying from the second place to the last one, so we had a difficult race. Alvaro tried hard to close the gap, but finally he had a little problem with the car. Suspension started to move, so when I took the car it was already not perfect, and then it broke completely, so we had to retire.
And again today, championship race starting from the back of the grid again.
Yes, I know. So again, it will be difficult, and I don't know what we can do. We have to try to overtake and see if we can come in the points. Will not be easy, but we can only try that.
17th position then for Sebastien Loeb, and that's Ricardo Zonta and Sergio Jimenez behind him. Those two cars came together yesterday as this packed grid gets ready to head off around this Zolder circuit for this 1 hour race. And there you can see everyone making their way off the grid. And down at the front we have our front row starters. Stephane Ortelli on the right hand side in that Belgian Audi Club Team WRT machine, and the Lamborghini Blancpain Reiter alongside of Peter Cox. Plenty of glamour here in Belgium to go with the excellent GT racing. And there is the car of Peter Cox, the 49-year-old Dutchman from Eindhoven. He's going to be one to be reckoned with, really, because he and Vanthor, I think, will be fairly similarly paced. Him and Ortelli will be similarly paced, and they're also similarly aged. Stephane Ortelli, 45 years old, and Peter Cox, 49, as I say, so it's a very much an experienced pairing at the front of the field. And then with the younger Nicky Meyer-Melnoff behind in that black Audi, all sorts of action could kick off. There's Alain Cordair. Then we've got an onboard camera in that BMW Team Brazil car, and they actually set the fastest pit stop time yesterday. The Ricardo Zonta Sergio Jimenez car got out in 45 seconds, which was a very impressive time indeed, the quickest of anyone, despite Sergio trying to break the doors down with his foot, which you may have seen go a little bit viral on YouTube. So I think the Brazilians will be hoping for a little bit of a better race today. They finished first and second in warm-up this morning as well, so there's definitely an opportunity for the BMW Team Brazil guys to get a little further forward, although the BMW is struggling with straight line speed. There is Sebastien Loeb just readying himself in the cockpit. It's going to be very, very busy for him. He has done racing before. He started at Le Mans, so he knows all about busy starts, but there's a little bit of, you take it a little bit easy at Le Mans because you've got 24 hours to do your racing in, but here a good start is very important. Alvaro Parent couldn't really make as much ground as he would have wanted in the start yesterday. That orange Mercedes at the back of the field, good to see that out, and also the number 8 Ford because the number 8 Ford at the back here didn't start yesterday because of a gearbox problem. They found a new gearbox, or sourced a new gearbox, and that will start the race. Felipe Tozzo and Raja Mascarello at the back, and then that orange machine is the other gentleman trophy machine, the second Seyfarth car. Life's not bad if you're Stephane Ortelli there, as he heads back down to the pit lane to find somewhere around the circuit or in the garages. There's a good vantage point for this race. The formation lap is underway then, and the Audi heads us off. This strong field of cars heading down towards turn 1. They'll try and get heat in the tyres, try and get heat in the brakes, with Stephane Ortelli on pole position. And that orange car, as I say, a second Seyfarth car started by Duda Rosa, and Paolo Bonifacio will take over. Here's a look at the grid. Pole position, Stephane Ortelli. Peter Cox alongside him in the Lamborghini. Then we've got the second WRT Belgian Audi Club of Nicky Melnhoff. And then Andreas Zuber in the Sebastien Loeb Racing McLaren is in 4th. Edward Sandstrom in 5th. Andreas Simonsen starting that Mercedes SLS in 6th place. Watch out for them. Alan Day in 7th in the second Mercedes, I should say, followed by Enzo Ede in the Ferrari. Philippe Salaquada behind in the Ferrari 458. Harry Procek, watch out for him because he's going to have some decent pace, I think, this afternoon. The Lamborghini is very strong around here. Claudio Ricci starting the number 7 Ford GT. Carlos Vieira currently leading the Pro-Am category in the Nova driver car. They start in 13th place. Sebastien Loeb there, starting in 17th, just ahead of Lucas Ordóñez in 18th place. Ricardo Zonta will have a lot of ground to make up from 19th. And then Raja Mascarello will start that number 8 Ford GT that didn't get out yesterday. Great to see everyone who's still here out on the grid. Unfortunately, we lost the BMW Team Sports India car on Friday it was, when Julien Juste, the experienced racer, put it in the barriers coming out of the final corner and wrote off the car, unfortunately. So that was a shame for him, and a shame for us, and a shame for everyone, but they had to go home. As we go on board with Alain Cordair, then up in front of him is Jan Seyfarth. Seyfarth looked very, very quick yesterday, setting the fastest lap of the race, so don't be surprised if that Mercedes comes through. But the start here, John, is going to be very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a terribly long run from the start line down to turn 1. Notorious in the past for having incidents on the run down or even in the corner. Cars will tend to go maybe the long way around. Think there's an advantage, but always get pinched on the outside of turn 1. But turn 2 and then into turn 3, those are the areas in the racetrack where you can get past the unwary. But of course, if you're in the front 3 rows of the grid, what you have are 5 Audis, 1 Mercedes and 1 McLaren. It is an Audi fest here in Zolder. 50th anniversary, by the way, this wonderful little venue in Belgium.
Excellent. So on board with Sebastien Loeb we go. The main race about to get underway here in Zolder. It's Stephane Ortelli on pole position, and he and Peter Cox will duel it out, as well as the 18 other cars on the grid. When the red lights go out, which they do now, it's a good start. Look at that, coming straight to the right-hand side for Edward Sandstrom to get the inside line and move up into 3rd place. Andreas Zuber's trying to hold that 3rd place as well, though, around the outside. We go on board with Loeb. It's all kicking off in front of him. A bit of contact between the Audi and the Ferrari. We're all safely through as they come into the right-hander now, and there's contact. Around goes Sebastien Loeb. He's gone into the side of Jan Seyfarth.
Yeah, he didn't really get far enough alongside the Mercedes coming into turn 2, and consequently the side swipe of the Mercedes substantial car. There are 2 others, Mercedes and the Nissan, the Blancpain also.
Yeah, Lucas Ordóñez obviously got caught up behind all that. We may have had a change for the lead. You know, I didn't quite spot it as they come down into the first corner, or has Nicky Melnhoff had a bad start? Melnhoff's had a bad start, but Peter Cox is in the lead. The Lamborghini managed to make it through. The other Lamborghini bounces over at the chicane, but Cox leads, and look at Nicky Melnhoff way down the field now. Here comes the attack from Caca Bueno coming, Alain Cordair, I should say, starting that number 0 BMW. As they wind their way through, there's Duda Rosa getting really in the mix. He's up with the Pro-Am guys and some of the Pro guys as well. Great start from Duda.
A wilder start this afternoon than we saw on Saturday in the qualifying race. Clearly that contact in turn 2, almost predictable. Sadly, 2 cars, whether they're going to be out of the race or not, whether they recover and get back into it, we have to just wait and see.
Well, Jan Seyfarth is out of the race. It's just been confirmed on the timing screens, but as they come into the chicane then, leading the way is Peter Cox. A brilliant start from him. It didn't look as though he was really in the mix to hold on to the lead, But as they come across the line at the end of lap 1, he's got a 2.2 second advantage, and it's a front left puncture for Sebastien Loeb. What a nightmare he is having in the championship.
Well, when I said to him in the interview, this is motor racing, I'm not sure whether he fully understood his Audi's going off track there.
That's Anthony Kumpen going all over the place.
Mr. Zolder, 24-hour specialist, 6 wins, 10 attempts, 2 Nissans. Oh, look at the damage to the front of Ordonez's car. That is, well, that's probably not going to make it back out into the field.
That's a real shame for the RJ and Nissan crew. I didn't really see. Oh, look, there's a wheel.
That's a tyre.
Yeah,
that's from
tyre,
Sebastien Loeb.
So into the pits come both of the Nissans. Loeb comes into the pits now as well. They're going to change the tyres, or just the one tyre, obviously, because that's the punctured one, as the car drops to the ground and they fire out. But here we go then, up at the front. Peter Cox leads, Stephane Ortelli second, Edward Sandstrom third. Fourth place is Andreas Zuber, with Andreas Simonsen in 5th position at the moment. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff dropped all the way down into 8th place, but Peter Cox is on a mission. He took 7/10 of a second out of Stephane Ortelli in the first sector alone. He extended his lead now up to 3 seconds, halfway around the second lap.
And Peter Cox is in the pound seat. All he's got to do is just keep his focus on what's ahead, and there's nothing ahead. He's got clear air. He can focus on his drive. Here we're seeing this battle, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, almost covered by, what, a second and a bit down to 8th place. They're all having to try to attack the car ahead, but likewise, Stephane Ortelli very aware that Sundstrom in the other Audi right behind him is capable of taking that second place away at any opportunity.
Lucas Ordonez is out of the race. You can see the gesticulations there. It looks as though Mark Szalczycki, see what happened to him, but he has got going again and heads out. But there is Lucas Ordonez. What a disappointing start to the race. It looked, we didn't really see it, but it looked as though he just got caught up behind the 2 cars colliding in front of him, and nowhere he could really go as he heads back off into the garage. And that's race over for him, and Alex Buncombe needn't get changed as they come down the back straight there. This is 2nd and 3rd place. Peter Cox has built up 3.3 seconds now. Very impressive in these early stages from Peter Cox. Yes, he's very experienced, but Ortelli's no
trouble for Mercedes.
Oh yeah,
Coming
that's the HTP Gravity Charoux car. Alan Day is cruising, you can see him there. And that's a real shame for Alan and the HTP Charoux squad, because they're currently 3rd in the championship. And there is Ordonez.
Yeah, Loeb spun in front of me, the other one.
Loeb, yeah, you heard the explanation. Loeb spun in front of him and he had nowhere to go.
Well, it's always difficult at the start of a race at Zolder. I mean, point that out. There is the Mercedes being pulled off, and that is a great disappointment. The HTP Gravity Charoux car. Let's look again to the start and wonder what happened. What happened to Nicky Meyer-Melnoff?
Cox had already got through into the lead on the exit there. Loeb had made up quite a few positions actually. A car runs wide in front of him. He darts through the middle. So Cox was already in the lead, as we see. And then that Mercedes gets out of shape. Loeb's going to dive through the middle here. Sees the gap on the inside into 2.
I mean, he did the right thing. Nothing wrong with Sebastien Loeb, but he probably didn't. Oh, there's the Mercedes, and that's what happens. And this Nissan of Ordonez really had nowhere to go. Racetrack completely, just had no room.
Well, here we go then. This is going to be the interesting thing. We're on board with Loeb coming down into the first corner. Nice and late on the brakes. Everything opens up in front of him. That Mercedes on the right-hand side is going to be the one he tries to get past. And let's see, is this... The Mercedes goes wide.
Yeah, but in reality, from the onboard shot, and we saw that yesterday with this very car with Alvaro Perez, unless you are slightly further forward, in other words, your front wheel level with the door of the car you're overtaking, but at the point in the opening lap, the Mercedes didn't even have a clue what was going on one side or the other side, and frankly, he just was... all concentration was focusing ahead.
That's racing, said Lucas Ordonez as we cut back to him there, so a real shame for him. Car 1 has stopped, as we saw. Alan Day, which promotes Enzo Edub into 5th place, and this is the battle over 7th place. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff ahead of Carlos Vieira, ahead of Alain Coder. So as they come to the end of lap 3 and start lap 4, Peter Cox leads in the Ryder Engineering Lamborghini. There's Alan Day, the Israeli driver, out of the race. 2nd place is Stephane Ortelli. 3rd for Edward Sandstrom. 4th for Andreas Zuber. Oh, a little bit of a run wide there from Carlos Vieira. 5th is Andreas Simonsen. 6th is Enzo Eden. And then it's this battle. 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, you can see there. Meyer-Melnoff, Vieira, Coder and Harry Prochik, with Ricardo Zonta all the way up to 11th place, actually, after he started way down in 19th, so good stuff from Zonta.
Well, everything is different to yesterday. The wind has dropped, the ambient temperature is higher, makes it a lot more comfortable for drivers, particularly in the opening laps when the tyre temperature will come up more quickly. The issue now is, if you're pushing really hard, which is what Peter Cox has done, he's got a 6-second advantage after 3 laps over second place Stephane Ortelli. He doesn't need to push that hard, other than he's in clear air, he's not loading the car up in any particular fashion. But if he was in a battle there, you can see the difference in positions, first to second, and by the time that second place car, now that is 6 seconds.
So through the chicane they come, a little bit out of shape there is Enzo Ede in the Phoenix Racing Audi. Mayer Melnoff is starting to get his head in the game and pull out a little bit of an advantage to the cars challenging behind. Here we've got Claudio Ricci under pressure from Duda Rosa in the second safe-half Mercedes that's out for this weekend, and for the rest of the season, in fact, as well, which is great to see. But there you can see Peter Cox leading the way. Second, third and fourth fairly close as they wind their way through the final chicane. It'll be great for Cox and Racina if they can get this win, because it'll launch them straight into the championship fight. As he comes across the line then, the gap is 4.6 seconds between Cox and Ortelli, and then it's another 7/10 back to Edward Sandstrom. So we can now hear from Lucas Ordóñez after that collision that ended his race early, and he's with Emily.
Lucas, it looks like you didn't have anywhere to go there.
Yeah, it was pretty tight start for everyone, and yeah, I was trying to be conservative, but it was not the right option, it seems. You know, Loeb and another Mercedes had a contact in front of me, and I had nothing possible to avoid. It was, you know, bad luck, wrong place in the wrong moment. So yeah, unfortunately, it's weekend to forget for us. But you know, we have to still work in and be positive, and you know, next race will be good for us, I'm sure. Silverstone Blancpain will be really strong for us. So we have to work, and we'll see.
Interesting listening to Lucas's explanation. Actually, watching the replay, he was quite a long way from the initial impact between the Mercedes and Sebastien Loeb. But what happened was the cars ahead of him saw the incident. They fanned out to go one side or the other, and Lucas Ordóñez just went for the gap. I mean, whether he intended to or not, but he found the gap. But when he got into the gap, then he realised there was no exit, so he was caught in his own trap almost.
So here comes Carlos Vieira attacking the back of Niki Mayer Melnoff as they come into the chicane. Mayer Melnoff and Rast currently 4th place in the championship. On board we go with Alain Coder, heading down into the first corner then. And he's just a little bit far away, late on the brakes. The corners are very quick here at Zolder, aren't they? Apart from the chicanes, it's mostly tight, kind of mid-speed corners.
These are mid-speed corners. Turn 1's a good corner, turn 2, and then they'll run into turn 3. In effect, it's 2 corners that become 1, and you really get a feel that the car is working then hard on the brakes into turn 4. It's almost sometimes easy to outbrake yourself into that corner and find yourself way off to the left, because the road does fall away. Then the climb uphill into the chicanes at 5 and 6. Never a nice chicane that's been altered over the seasons. A lot of curb hopping, trying to make it as short as possible. Sometimes it helps, sometimes you actually lose. Down the hill then, and then this left-hand sweep before you come to the chicane at turns 8 and 9. You arrive there really quickly. Oh, and look at that, right. I mean, that's almost taking more than the 4 wheels off the racetrack. Needs to be careful to respect the racetrack.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. Car 8 has just been told, Roger Mascarello, that he must respect the track limits. As they come into the braking zone, there's contact there, isn't there? Niki Mayer Melnoff just given a little nudge, I think, from Carlos Vieira behind. As they come out onto the back straight, this is going to be a chance for Vieira. He's tucked right up underneath the Audi in front of him. Alain Coder just keeping our watching brief, but nothing doing just yet. This is going to compromise Mayer Melnoff's run. Out onto the start-finish straight, though, and Carlos Vieira manages to get alongside. Mayer Melnoff moves across. They touch. They rub. Look at that. Vieira says, "You're not pulling me out here. You're staying down there, Mr. Mayer Melnoff." Alain Coder watches on, and around the outside goes Carlos Vieira. Can he keep it on the road? Yes, he can. Good stuff. He moves up into 7th place.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of bodywork trim on the racetrack. The BMW slides up the inside of Niki Mayer Melnoff, and really he just got bullied by the BMW and by the Audi, losing 2 places in the space of 2 corners, now coming under attack from the Lamborghini. And well, Nicky Meyer-Menhoff had a bad start from a second row grid starting position, and Caca Bueno, he's happy with that little manoeuvre by his co-driver Alain Day, and now under attack from the Lamborghini coming up. Really, it's desperate moments for the Audi and Nicky Meyer-Menhoff.
Yeah, he did so well yesterday, did Nicky, to hold on and take that 3rd place under a great amount of pressure from behind, but couldn't hold off the pressure here. And now Harry Procek is going to attempt to get past as they come out onto the far end of the circuit, the furthest point away from the pits, really. And then they come down the hill towards this turn 12 hairpin. And I wonder what kind of pace Carlos Vieira can do now. He's 3 seconds behind Enzo Ede in front, so if he can start getting a little bit closer, that would be good news for him. Purple middle sector on that last lap for Stephane Ortelli, but the gap up at the front is still 5.8 seconds, so it's still pretty much 6 seconds, that lead that Cox has built up, despite that purple middle sector for Ortelli. Here comes Harry Procek then. This is the battle over 8th place now, sorry, 9th place I should say. Procek looks out to the inside, later on the brakes into turn 1. Good move, that one.
Well, I mean, that was as easy as you could ever ask, because Nicky Meyer-Menhoff stayed well on the right-hand side of the track. Harry Procek had the run, and he just saw the open door or the open goal, and he put his foot or the ball, whichever your analogies are, into it and got that position, and that's about as easy an overtake as you're going to get into turn 1.
This is Mark Szulczycki trying to make his way up the field after that incident. He's going past Rajan Mascarello now to move up into 15th position, which is reasonable for them, but they'll be hoping to climb up a little bit more, him and Wolfgang Reip. Car 8, which is Rajan Mascarello, has been given a final warning for track limits at turn 9, which is that chicane.
Yes,
here.
we saw, I mean, literally had all 4 wheels inside the curbing that defines the apex of the corner, and so do it once, you get away with it, but more than that, you're going to be into territory where you could end up getting a penalty.
So the pit stop window will open in about 10 minutes time. Again, Ortelli goes purple in the middle sector, but he loses out 2/10 or so in the first sector as Peter Cox comes across the line once more. There you can see Ortelli. What is the gap now on that last lap? Cox did a 32.2 and Ortelli did a 32.2 as well, so they're very evenly matched. It was that out of the blocks pace from Cox.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt Peter Cox got the clear air, and while there was mayhem going on behind him, he was able to get that focus. He got good grip in the opening lap, which was a part of the reason why he opened up a 1.5 seconds, and then he was able to move forward and just pull away and have that lovely clear air ahead of him, no interference, no battling going on directly behind him, which could be a problem. So Peter Cox literally having an afternoon's drive here in Zolder, he couldn't have wished for an easier one.
There's Mark Szulczycki across the line then. 18th place, so actually that getting past those two wasn't, oh, there's a problem for Rajan Mascarello.
Yeah.
The car darting around a little bit.
I wonder whether he's got a tyre problem, maybe picked up something in the opening laps. It doesn't look stable at the rear at all, and obviously going much more slowly than he would have done otherwise.
That battling that we saw Mark Szulczycki doing wasn't for position. He was a lap down, so that was him unlapping himself from some of the tail end Charlies as Peter Cox heads towards the chicane once more, comfortably in control of this one, but it could all change at the pit stops. Winds his way out through the chicane. He was leading this race in FIA GT1 last year, but he was given a drive-through penalty for jumping the start. He knows his way around here. Hans Reiter told us in the pre-race show that this is the Lamborghini's favourite circuit, so
I thought that was with the Murciélagos, not the Gallardo.
Well, he just
seems to work for both.
Yeah, exactly. Through the double right.
Gap has actually decreased by 1/10 second. It's sort of seesawing between 5.5 and 5.4 seconds.
So I just mentioned Hans Reiter. Let's have a chat to him now, shall we? He's with Emily.
You've got a 5-second lead. It must be pressure on the pit stop for the boys.
Well, there's quite some pressure because our lead is currently melting a bit. We have a setup, or we choose a setup which is very aggressive in the beginning to go away. And from now on, the Audi is faster. If you see the lap times, they are gaining 0.5 second on us. Will be exciting for the last 5-10 minutes because the pit stop, I think, they catch us. And there's a lot of pressure on the boys.
It's interesting.
Well, I mean, I would say he's being slightly pessimistic because the gap is hovering around 5.5 seconds, a tenth either way. Of course, the pit stop will be key, and we know that WRT and the Audi boys are extremely efficient in the pit stop, so Hans Reiter's men are going to have to match that, because all the time you make up on the racetrack, as the Ford makes its way in with that problem we identified, but all the time that you make up on the racetrack can just evaporate in 5.4 seconds, in almost the blink of an eye, and then pressure would be on Stefan Rosina when he gets into the Lamborghini. Of course, it'll be local boy and expert round here, another expert round, Zolder Laurens van Thorp, who was stunning yesterday, will take over the second place Audi.
So it's, well, actually, Reiter Engineering, their pit stop was 1 second slower yesterday than WRT, so they're fairly evenly matched when it comes to the pit stops.
But do you know the difference? They're leading right now, different pressure, and WRT have got that experience from whether they're leading or at the back of the field. It's consistency that they have. That's what Reiter Engineering is going to have to give the lead car, and not sucker for the pressure blow.
So problem at the back of the Ford, unfortunately. The sister Ford is running in 14th place.
There's something
5th in Pro-Am.
Down at the bottom left side, probably a suspension component, and that's why the car looked to be crabbing marginally as it came down the pit straight. With Ortelli opening up a gap now from Edward Sundstrom in 3rd place. Stephane Ortelli has been running about 0.2 of a second or so a lap quicker than the Swede in the 3rd place Audi, kicking up the dust as he comes out of very good turn 11. That's one of the better corners around the far end of this racetrack. Unfortunately, the chicane at turns 8, 9 and 10 have destroyed what would have been turn 8 on the original layout super corner, but of course not much room on the outside these days, so they had to slow the corner down.
So there's the fans watching on as we go on board now with Stephane Ortelli. He comes out onto the start-finish straight. Let's see the gap between him and Peter Cox then as he comes across the line, and it is now 5.6 seconds still.
Well, just get an eye on Stephane Ortelli, just turns into turn 1, making very, very small adjustments on the steering wheel on the entry, then relaxes as he goes up into turn 2 left on the brake, catches the apex, doesn't take too much of it on the inside, lets the car run out to the outside, blends corner 2 into turn 3, then the short sprint down to 4, and then the battle going a little bit further on the field. Yep. Second on the BMW.
This is 11th place Ricardo Zonta with Philippe Salaquada behind him.
Is that the car that got a touch of GBH yesterday?
It is indeed, it is indeed. So Sergio Jimenez, it was attacking the side of his own car. He said because of the contact with Parent, apparently that damaged the door so it wouldn't shut, and obviously if something doesn't shut, the best medicine is your foot.
I think that was, in some respects, the highlight of their day.
And that's a shame to see Mascarello being reversed into the garage. Now this is the battle for 7th place. No, this is the battle for 3rd place, my apologies. It's Edward Sandstrom and Andreas Zuber. This is the battle over 3rd position. Andreas Zuber is right up the back. He's looking super quick as they head out onto the back straight, down towards the chicane.
Yeah, well, all the Sebastien Loeb Racing hopes are dependent on this car. Mike Parisi will be taking over from Andreas Zuber. Well, the pit lane will be open in just under 4 minutes. And a disappointment indeed for Sebastien Loeb and Alvaro Parent. It all went wrong after qualifying when there was a technical infringement with the turbocharging in the boost, and then the contact in the race with Parent. And then, of course, contact with the team boss, the patron, in turn 2.
Vincent Voss looking a little, not uncomfortable there, but a little pensive as they come through the right-hander. And the gap at the front is down to 5.3 seconds, so it's coming down every so often. And Edward Sandstrom is now coming under pressure, because it was odd, wasn't it? Because it looked as though the WRT Audis were going to dominate. Then when we were watching qualifying in the media centre with some of our friends, the Audis didn't quite perform as strongly as we expected, but then come the race, they were back up there, weren't they?
Well, the thing that I find rather strange this morning, and of course it depends on the fuel levels that drivers and teams are running, but it was the two BM Sport Trophy Team Brazil BMWs that were quickest. Then there was Alain Day in the Gravity Shrews Mercedes-Benz, and the first Audi wasn't until the Campanichu car, which isn't one of the WRT cars. They were further down. What does that tell me? frankly nothing. The only thing I know is that on the grid it was noticeably warmer today than it was yesterday, and I think that aggressive strategy that Hans Reiter was talking about with the Lamborghini, in other words, as I alluded to, that Peter Cox was able to go quickly, was because he was getting tyre temperature. But the penalty of that is you do wear the tyre out and you might go over the maximum performance peak or curve of the tyre's performance, and right now, well, the gap's still 5.5 seconds, so Peter Cox is controlling this around that 5.5 second lead.
Philippe Salaquada trying to get past Ricardo Zonta still. This battle we've been watching for a couple of laps now. 11th place, this is over, and if you get up into 10th place, you'll pick up a championship point, so he's pretty close this time. The BMW we know is a little weak in a straight line. Salaquada not quite brave enough to go for it on the brakes against the ex-Formula 1 racer.
No, Ricardo Zonta very aware that the Ferrari was ready to make to pounce going into turn one, didn't give it the opportunity down the inside. He more or less stayed in mid part of the circuit, and that then stopped Salaquada's exit, also giving him an opportunity into turn two and then on the exit of three. So that's intelligent driving from Ricardo Zonta, using his car in a way to frustrate Salaquada in the Ferrari directly behind. Probably in the quicker of the two cars, albeit on a clear lap, but until that situation arises, it's the BMW holding advantage over Ferrari.
So Ricardo Zonta, whose most famous Formula 1 moments came in Belgium, didn't they? Albeit at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, where he had a ginormous crash at Eau Rouge and then got overtaken either side, lapped either side by Schumacher and Hakkinen in 2000. But these two, or 99, can't remember, these two still continuing to battle as they drop down the hill. And there has been an announcement from the stewards that there will be no further action taken on that lap one incident. Racing incident, they've decided.
I think with 22 cars all trying to get the same bit of tarmac, it's almost inevitable. You hope it doesn't happen, but it is in a way almost inevitable. And unfortunately, some of the cars were taken out immediately. Other cars had to make pit stops to replace damaged body panels, or in the case of Sebastien Loeb, he picked up a tire puncture as a consequence of all that. And Sebastien Loeb, well, currently running in 15th place, lapping good pace, 132.6, around about the pace of sort of cars in 5th, 6th place just behind. In fact, the sister McLaren of Andreas Zuber, who's doing the 32.3s.
So through the back sequence, through the first few corners they come. There's Frank Stippler ready to take over from the 3rd place car. So that's going to be, there's only 0.6 of a second between them. So that's going to be a good battle between Sebastien Loeb Racing and WRT in the pits. Yesterday, Sebastien Loeb Racing managed to put in a quick time, 54 seconds. WRT doing it about 50 seconds. So you only need one little mistake here or there and things can swing around.
Sundstrom won't be able to make it into the pit lane at this time on this lap, because to take him less than the 30 seconds, he's now coming up to the pit lane entrance, so he's going to have to do one more lap. Frank Stippler ready in the pit lane to take over that car from Edward Sundstrom.
The man to watch is going to be Nicky Meyer-Melnoff, whether he comes in on this lap to hand over to René Rast, because he's a tiny bit further back down the road. I don't think he is going to quite make it through in time before the pit stop window opens as they come across the line. There he is. No, he stays out. Probably could have dived in, but René Rast is getting ready to go.
It would have been too marginal a call, but the BMW the window is open.
Zonta coming in to hand over to Jimenez.
So let's see what one Brazilian can driver do.
See if we get any kung fu fighting in this pit stop.
Hopefully the door has been readjusted. The door keepers are in perfect position, and there'll be no more tantrums in the pit lane. And all the people around the world who enjoyed that on their various media formats probably had a great old laugh at it, but I don't think it was particularly liked in certain parts of Munich.
So out climbs Ricardo Zonta, in climbs Sergio Jimenez. As the tyres begin to get changed on the Z4. And so they were battling over 11th place, well, they were running in 11th place, so we'll have to wait and see where they come out. Now, what's going to be the strategy here with Cox?
Stay out. He's now gained almost a second of an advantage, up to 6.4 seconds. I suspect Peter Cox is going to stay out until the last conceivable moment, and therefore give Stefan Rosina the shorter of the two stints. As you see, the BMW now leaving the pit lane, and the McLaren is in.
So Andy Zuber now is going to hand over to Mike Parisi, so they're going to try and jump Edward Sandstrom in the pit stops. Into the pits also comes Andreas Simonsen, who will hand over to Sergei Afanasiev. And that Mercedes is running pretty well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, Afanasiev was very confident on the grid. I managed to say his name without having to refer to the notes. Afanasiev. So he's done a good job for the Mercedes team, and he'll be handing that car over very quickly indeed to Andreas Simonsen. And you know, good result. I mean, one Mercedes amongst 5 Audis and a single McLaren was a tall order. Now the pit stop window's open. It is opportunity for the pits to make some of those overtakes.
So we've got cars diving in left, right and centre. There is Zuber and Parisi, and there's René Rast waiting to take over from Nicky Malnoff. To the pits he comes.
Lots and lots of carbon brake dust coming from the front wheels as the Audi comes to a stop.
Rast puts in his booster seat, and let's hope he's turned the engine off this time.
I think that was a lesson well learned. Mike Parisi on his way, as is the Mercedes. So seeing Andreas Simonsen following out behind the McLaren. Good pit stop, I think, for this René Rast car. So they will have picked up, I think, a little bit of, certainly in terms of time, not lap time, but track position.
So Peter Cox stays out. Stephane Ortelli, I think, will stay out as well. And he does so. Third place, Edward Sandstrom. He stays out as well. So we're going to have to wait a couple more laps before it all shakes out. Out of the pits now comes Fabio Onidi. Car 29 spun and rejoined at turn 3. That was due to Rosa. In comes Enzo E to hand over to Anthony Kumpen. But up at the front, the top 3 are remaining out there on the circuit. 32 minutes to go. Across the line comes the battle between Carlos Vieira and Alain Coder that's been going on for the whole of the race, really. Still only half a second separating the two of them. So when will either of those come in to hand over to their respective teammates? Peter Cox continues to lead. He's got a 6-second advantage. On board we go then with Alain Coder. Kumpen gets in. There's Alvaro Parent waiting to take over from Sebastien Loeb.
I mean, Alvaro Parent and Sebastien Loeb must be wondering, what have we got to do?
Oh, problem here on the left rear.
Well, and it is a big problem. That the tyre is, there's been damage, and the consequence of the tyre is deflated, and it's now being shredded as the car's been driven back to the pits. That's the danger of a tyre early in a lap. You're getting at something, a sharp object puncturing the tyre, and then you drive it back. And
it looked like it was on the rim, pretty much.
It probably was. The damage that can be done with the tyre flailing around, especially in an enclosed car. So the Audi just gets
so that's
back.
Good stuff for Kumpen. They are now out in front of that Mercedes of Sergei Afanasiev. So I think that'll be about 5th overall. Anthony Kumpen should be into 5th place, I believe, as the race leader comes across the line now.
This is where his problems will begin. He's got to be very careful indeed.
Here's the first thing to look out for then of the front runners, and it's Edward Sandstrom pushing hard into the pit lane.
Very hard indeed. Got to slow down to 60 kilometers per hour as he came across the line. And if you exceed that 60 kilometers per hour, then you will have a penalty. A drive-through will be the case as we wait.
It's Mike Parisi then that this battle is with, isn't it? There's Loeb in the pits, the second Sebastien Loeb racing machine.
Wait and see, is that going to be a problem?
That was going to be close,
releasing the McLaren, and no, it's not a problem. I thought it might have been, but no, it wasn't.
So Sandstrom comes in, and basically they were ahead of Mike Parisi, and a little bit of tanglement there. They were ahead of Mike Parisi and Andreas Zuber, but only just when they came into the pits.
René Rast on his out lap, fastest first sector time, fastest second sector time. This man is on a mission.
He is indeed. Let's see how far up the order René Rast can get. Here comes Mike Parisi then. Will Frank Stippler be able to get out in front? That looked like a pretty sweet pit stop, and I think he's going to hold on to the lead fairly comfortably, actually. Not the lead, I should say, but 3rd place pretty comfortably. As they come into turn 1, there is Parisi turning through, and there is Stippler out of the pits. So good work from WRT.
Very, very good work indeed. That's what you want to see when you're in an endurance race, or even an hour-long race with a change of drivers. Still got the lead.
René Rast, sorry to interrupt you, John, he's just done a 31.1, which is 0.8 of a second quicker than anyone else has done so far in this race.
New rubber gives you a massive advantage. He's taken it, but of course that tyre then will begin to drop off, then level out into what I would call its working natural lap time. As we see, this is an issue for Peter Cox. He's been behind this BMW now for more than a lap.
In comes Ortelli to hand over to Vanthor then, and Peter Cox has stayed out.
But I think that Lamborghini and the rider engineering need to be cautious, because I suspect that the lap time that we're seeing for Peter Cox is dropping marginally because he's behind the BMW. A quick stop from this Audi and Laurens Vanthoor behind the wheel, and then putting Stephane Ortelli into the Lamborghini, all have elements of bringing the lead car and the second place car when the pit stop window is closed, all much closer than it was when the pit stop window opened.
So out of the pits goes Laurens Vanthoor. On board with him as he comes through the left-hander at the end of the pit lane. And we're not going to learn anything just yet. He's going to come out in front of Frank Stippler, but that that was unsurprising. And that's wheel. Where's that come from?
Well, it came from an Audi.
It must have come from the Audi. Vincent Voss wants to know as well.
Well, it came from the Audi, but the Audi doesn't know that the wheel has come off.
But
this is Laurens Vanthoor.
He's still driving fairly casually, Vanthoor.
Well, I mean, the cars are relatively stiff. He will know now, because the team will have been on the radio to tell him a wheel has come off. But unusual.
But here he is, look, he's fine. He's got all four wheels on his wagon, hasn't he?
Somebody else.
Goodness me, yeah, he's got all four of them.
So where did that come from?
So someone out there is missing a wheel.
Well, but that was the only car we saw coming out of the pit lane, because the camera caught it coming out of the pit lane as we were there.
Oh, there we go. It's a Ford wheel.
I knew it was a Ford wheel. I thought the design of those. I knew it was that. I didn't want to say, just because it would have been wrong to contradict you, Jack.
So, unfortunately, that was Matthias Stumpf, who's lost a wheel, his front left wheel, and that's a miserable day now for the Ford GTs.
And is this going to be a safety car intervention?
Well, more importantly, here is Peter Cox in the pits. I think that's on the exit of the pit lane, though, so it's not too much of a dramatic position. But out of the pits now comes Stephane Ortelli. Where is the Audi? He's coming around the final corner now. This is going to be easy for Stephane Ortelli to hold on to the lead of the race, I believe, as he comes through. He's got to go through the yellow flag zone, make sure he doesn't clatter into the side of the Ford, but Ortelli comes out of the pits and rejoins in the lead of the race.
Well, good work by both teams, Rider Engineering and WRT. The gap, well, that was about 6 seconds prior to the pit stops. Now it's probably 5 and a bit or 4 and a bit. We'll have to wait until both cars come across to complete another lap. So they're on the 22nd lap now, and we'll find out that maybe in about a minute or so's time. Kicking up the dust on the exit out of turn 4. And is that pressure, or is that somebody getting on with the programme?
So, all the pit stops are completed. There's Matthias Stumpf. A shame for him. There's Edvard Sandström. Hot work for him. And Stephane Ortelli is leading the way in the 24 Lambo. So the top 4 remain unchanged. Anthony Kumpen's up into 5th ahead of Afanasiev. René Rast is now in 7th. 8th is Caca Bueno. 9th is Cesar Campanico. 10th is Dominic Baumann. 11th is Jimenez. 12th is Fabio Anidi, with up into 13th place now Alvaro Parent. But there's our race leader, Stephane Ortelli, and really, if he can keep it all together, he should be all right, but we'll have to wait and see the times.
It's Alvaro Parent who actually now is quickest car on circuit by about a 10th of a second. That stunning lap we saw from René Rast, 1:31.117, last lap 31.6. So he's lost that half second. That's the difference between the tyre being brand new and then the tyre settling into its run.
So 25 minutes remaining as the pit stop window closes here. Stephane Ortelli is leading the way. 3.3 seconds clear of Laurens Vanthoor, though, so the gap has halved on that last lap. Well, it's difficult to tell because it was Ortelli's out lap. So the next time they come past the timing beam, we will be able to get a better judgment of exactly how that gap is progressing. And there is Rast. He's got past Afanasiev on that last lap and is now up into 6th place.
Yeah, I mean, René Rast, such a star in an enclosed GT car, and he knew what he had to do. Clearly there was disappointment for Nicky Meyer-Meldenhoff in getting mugged completely at the start of this race, and really just doing little more than a consolatory drive to keep the car in position. But René Rast now has got a job to do. He's only 1.1 seconds behind the 5th place car, so he's going to be looking to make that position as soon as he's made up that 1.1 seconds. Anthony Kumpert's going to be Kumpert as he comes down into turns 7, 8 and 9, and the man who knows this circuit better than anybody. 6 wins in 24-hour races. Must be nuts, the guy to do that.
So here's the battle then over 5th place. Good work from René Rast. Meyer-Meldenhoff a little nervous watching on.
Look at that,
flashing
René
his
Rast.
lights down into the hairpin. Rast has never done single-seaters, you know. He started off racing in the VW Polo Cup back in 2005.
No, he hasn't. But the funny thing with René Rast is, as brilliant as he is in these GT cars, Porsches, Audis, or whatever you put him in, when you put him into a high downforce car, he did do a test in a DTM car, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, and he just couldn't get on with the downforce. And it works in reverse. It's actually more difficult to come from a high downforce car into a relatively low downforce car than it is to move up.
As Karun Chandok is experiencing at the moment, because Jan Seyfarth was selling to me, Karun's trying to take too much speed through the corners when that grip just isn't there because there's no downforce.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we sort of mentioned this yesterday, that when you've got a bigger, heavier, physically less nimble car with a lot less downforce and a much different tyre kind of specification, as opposed to the nimble sort of single-seater racing that Karun Chandok is more accustomed to. René Rast really making those lights on the Audi work hard to try and distract Anthony Kumpen as they go up into turns 5 and 6. That's the climb up over the hill, and then it drops away very quickly, and you're into this turn 7, and before you're really exiting it, you're having to get on the brakes to slow down for this Villeneuve chicane.
Kumpen certainly knows his way around here, so you'd imagine he would know how to defend around here, because he's going to defend for all he's worth.
Well, René Rast is going to have a look down into turn, in my view, into turn 12. He's got to do it sooner than later. He's going to get, basically, he's getting, like, Kumpen knows where to place his car to deny René Rast. Rast couldn't afford to go tight on the right-hand side into the run into turn 12. He'd have been on the dirty part of the racetrack, wouldn't have been able to slow down the car. René Rast, not a happy man. He wants that Belgian-driven Audi to get out of the way and let him get on with his job of trying to catch up to Mike
Parisi in fourth place. So here comes René Rast. He's in the slipstream as they come towards turn 1. Start straight, not quite long enough here. You've pulled off some manoeuvres going down into turn 1, but René Rast unable to at the moment.
He's got a chance now to look up the inside, but still, no, there's no... Anthony Kumpen good on the brakes as he enters the brake zone.
Kumpen's pit stop is actually under investigation. It's just been announced, so that could end up with a penalty for Kumpen if the stewards find something amiss. There's all sorts of regulations you have to adhere to in the pit stop. Seatbelts off, engines off, seatbelts on at the right time, seatbelts off at the right time, don't throw the tyres, all sorts of things.
Sergei Afanasyev doing a good job running behind in the Mercedes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really stressful for Nicky Melnov.
Well, he's been graded now as a professional driver, but he's still got a lot to learn. But, you know, he's such an enthusiast, and he loves his motor racing so much, you know, to see him distressed as he is there. Or maybe he's just concerned that his teammate is driving the wheels, the door handles of his Audi to try and get past Mr. Zolder, Anthony Kumpen.
Down into their right-hander they come again. This is obviously the reverse situation that René Rast experienced at Nagaro, where he was defending expertly. A little bit of a sideways moment for Kumpen. We believe that the engine may have been on whilst they started changing the wheels in that number 5 Audi, so that's what the investigation is. Whether it was or not is not up for us to decide, but when it is decided, we'll let you know the outcome. Across the start line they come. This is a good opportunity now for René Rast. He's got a car length between him and Kumpen in front of him. Is he just going to send it in on the brakes? Kumpen's going to turn in, and he's very, very confident, is Kumpen. He needs to now hold the inside line coming down into turn 2. There's a bit of a gap there, but he's defending that one nicely as well.
But he's going to make the cutback, trying to get the nose of his car inside that of Anthony Kumpen, but it gets cut off, almost literally shreds the carbon fibre of René Rast's car, and that was the best opportunity René Rast has had so far to take that position and convert it into 5th place.
Good battling here between two very experienced racers. Kumpen's been racing GT cars for many, many years. Started off doing FIA GT back in '99.
Slightly wayward going into the chicane. That's given René Rast another opportunity, but not able to do anything into turn 8 and 9. It really needs huge cooperation from a car that you're battling with, and that's not coming right now from this 5th place Audi of Anthony Kumpen.
All this is dropping them further back from Mike Parisi up in front. They're lapping about 0.6 of a second slower. Parisi, in fact, is lapping a second quicker than Van Thor in front of him, and the gap at the front is down to just 2 seconds, so it's all coming to fruition in these last 20 minutes, but we're watching René Rast desperate to make his way up into 5th position. Afanasyev is just keeping a watching brief at the moment.
Well, he's winning there to pick up all the toys out of the pram. If René Rast gets really racy about it, decides to force the issue with Anthony Kumpen. This time a little bit further behind, coming down pit straight, not in a position to make an attack, but he can prepare, as he did there, pull right over to the right to give himself a better angle as he approached the apex, then a slightly higher speed off the corner. Again moves the Audi around to try and do something off turn 2, but Anthony Kumpen's got every move covered. And René Rast is almost like he stopped. Well, I was going to say he stopped flashing his lights out of frustration. He's back on them again. It's not making any difference because I think the mirror in that Audi of Kumpen's has been turned down.
Into the start-finish straight they come. We've had 26 laps completed here, 18 minutes to go, and this is the battle over 6th position, while Stefan Rosina leads ahead of Laurens Vanthoor, with Frank Stippler in 3rd and Mike Parisi in 4th. They come through turn 7. This is Anthony Kumpen at the wheel of the Phoenix Racing number 5 Audi, the red and white machine. He's got René Rast so close up the back of him you would not believe in the black WRT Audi.
And you can just see that difference between Rast and Kumpen. The black Audi, the quicker of the two, through turns 8, 9 and 10, but to no avail because the Belgian was able to hold the German in identical cars behind him.
And this is the top two then, Rosina and Vanthoor. Gaps down to just 1.9 seconds on that last lap. Vanthoor managed to take 0.6 of a second out of Stefan Rosina. So, as we heard from Hans Reiter earlier, they started with an aggressive tyre strategy, the Lamborghinis, so they may fall away later in the race. René Rast looks to the inside again, sends it, not close enough.
No, he's not. He wants to do it, but his fundamental nature says, no, I'm never going to get away with it. Now, trying up the inside. Again, Anthony Kumpen kept the car very wide on the entry into turn 2, allowing René Rast a little bit of wriggle room if he did overcommit. And that's intelligent driving from Anthony Kumpen because he's watching what's going on behind him as well as what he needs to think about ahead of him.
Anthony Kumpen, runner-up in FIA GT back in 2009, lost out the championship to Michael Bartels and Andrea Bertolini, I think it was, by just 1 point. As they come through the chicane, he and Enzo Ede aren't looking like championship challengers this season, but they're looking like solid top 10 runners, hence this battle over 5th place down into the chicane.
And you can see René Rast is later on the brakes, and just he's got a car that turns direction marginally better than that of Anthony Kumpen. That's just down to driver preference in terms of how they have the car set up. But nonetheless, even with the marginal advantage that René Rast appears to have with his Audi, it's not enough to really give him a serious platform to launch a challenge, unless an error comes from Anthony Kumpen. Right now, up into final 2 turns, 15 and 16. Is he going to look down the inside? He's
there
going to commit himself. He's
René Rast, good attempt, and he's managed to get through. Mehrmanov is happy, but will it all be done? Yes, it will. Good traction out of the final corner for René Rast, and I don't think Kumpen's going to have an answer to that one.
No, he doesn't. I mean, that was well thought out. Took a long time. René Rast had to work very hard indeed to find a way past Anthony Kumpen, who's now going to come under attack from in the Mercedes.
Afanasiev.
So he's doing a really good job just watching that battle, wasn't getting involved, in a sense just keeping his own pace and focusing on what's available. He now knows that Anthony Kumpen is going to be vulnerable, particularly into turn 15. If he can get the Mercedes to repeat, let's look again. René Rast goes to the right, then feints back to the left. This is his opportunity. He's got to launch himself down the inside. And Kumpen just turned in and he realised the other Audi is precisely in the bit of racetrack he wanted and had to turn away.
Absolutely so. Great move from René Rast. There is the battle for the race lead, though. Stefan Rosina leading the way, but Laurens Vanthoor has gone green in Sector 1. He's done the best Sector 2 of anyone in the race so far, a 33.263. And Vanthoor is really pushing now. There's Ortelli, his teammate. Across the line, the gap is down to 1.3 seconds. Another 4/10 came out on that last lap. Very, very interesting. We go on board with Vanthoor then. Let's see if he's wrestling the car.
Well, let's look at the turn 2 and a nice, progressive, smooth turn in. And
pretty smooth.
Really, you're balancing the car here as much as on the steering as you are on the throttle. So all the work is done getting the entry to that corner. Once you've got the apex correct, then it's just a matter of steering and throttle to exit the corner. And Laurens Vanthoor, very comfortable behind the wheel of this car, did a stunning job yesterday. We saw him doing a stunning job in Nagaro as well. Through the chicane, not clouding the curbs, thank goodness.
So now we can hear from Stephane Ortelli, Vanthor's teammate. He's down in the Audi garage with Emily.
Stephane, he's caught up. Do you think he'll get past?
I don't know. It's good to be here already, and I mean, this is the feeling we want. I know Lorenz will try his best, and he's living here, next door to the racetrack. But yeah, it's important to have a look and be safe as well. You know, we need points. I just had a very good start, but Peter Cox was also too quick. So for 3 laps, it was a bit difficult, and then I was catching. Apparently, it's what's happening now as well. You know, Lorenz is quicker right now.
All because of the aggressive setup, would you say?
Well, I think 2 very strong drivers, and you know that they came out of that melee behind the lead Lamborghini in best position. And Stephane Ortelli, as always, does a very strong professional job. Got the car up to within 5.5 seconds of Peter Cox in the lead Lamborghini. Then a good turnaround for Laurens Vanthoor and for Rosina in the Lamborghini. But Vanthoor clearly will be the quicker of the 2 drivers with 12.5 minutes of this race remaining. But whether he can get close enough and make the pass and make it stick, well, I think Ortelli, you could sense he was actually slightly more nervous than he normally is when he's interviewed.
Yeah, absolutely. He's usually very relaxed, and actually there's a real chance as we see lappery going on. That's Anthony Kumpen going past Peter Charouz, and following him through is Sergei Afanasyev. The gap between those two, well, it was just 0.2 of a second actually as they crossed the line, so they must have all got a little shaken up going down into turn 1 with Peter Charouz up in front of them. The gap at the front is down to 1 second between Rosina and Vanthoor. Frank Stippler unable to keep the pace, running about 0.6 slower than the 2 chaps in front of him. Despite Rosina being reeled in, he's still the third quickest man on the racetrack. Vanthoor the quickest, Rene Rast the second quickest.
Yeah, but also who's pretty quick is Alvaro Parent. We've not seen very much of that Sebastien Loeb Parent car. Started at the back of the field, currently up to 13th, running in low 131s.
So we've heard from Vanthoor's teammate. Let's hear from Rosina's teammate, Peter Cox, in the garage with Emily.
Peter, do you think you can hold him off?
I hope. I mean, Stephane is a very good driver, and obviously the other competitor is quite strong here. It's his home track, but I think Stephane is doing a good job, and it will be close, but we're pushing.
Laurens Vanthoor's house is just to the left of shot here, because you can see turn 3 out of the window when he brushes his teeth. So just in that copse of woods to the right-hand side is where Laurens Vanthoor lives. You can't get much more of a home race circuit than this. As they come down the back straight, there was only 0.4 between them as they crossed the line. There's going to be even less than between them now, because Vanthoor's taken another, half a tenth out of him in that first sector alone.
Well, Laurens Vanthoor knows this racetrack. He knows where to bother and where not to bother, and coming down over the hill through turn 7 is not somewhere that you really want to make an effort. He'll start his preparations as they come out of turn 12, the run up to the part of the racetrack that we saw that great overtake from Rene Rast a few minutes ago, and then the other options are into turn 1, maybe into turn 2. But the performance of the Audi and the Lamborghini in terms of straight line performance very evenly matched. But Laurens Vanthoor can't get any closer, wondering whether he just under acceleration. That's just because the Lamborghini accelerated that fraction of a second sooner. But can he do anything up into turn 15? Well, he's not close enough, but he can prepare again through this chicane, through 15, through 16, getting power on early, getting a good drive out of that final part of the chicane. Running car in a bit's length behind the Lamborghini, not in any position to make any attempt to pass. So again, it's all about thinking forward. Where can I do something? Well, the Lamborghini unstable on the exit. Now he's looking to go the long way around, then make the cut back. Can he get up the inside of the Lamborghini as they come through turn 2?
Not quite. Rosina has good mid-corner speed there as we go back on board with Vanthoor. He hasn't actually raced here much, despite living there, because he went around Europe doing, he did German Formula 3 in 2009, which he dominated, beating Steph Dusseldorf and Marcus Pommer along the way. He hasn't actually raced here at Zolder as much as, say, Anthony Kumpen, who's done about 1 billion laps around here, but nevertheless, he knows it well. It gives him the home advantage. The car's moving around so much.
Lamborghini, the rear tyres are beginning to cry enough. I can see the Lamborghini now twice in this lap getting marginally out of shape, and that's going to give great hope to Laurens Vanthoor. He needs to be patient through these sequence of corners. There's not much he can do. He can have a look if he's brave down into turn 12, but he's got to position himself to get the exit off turn 11. Perfect, but I don't think he's going to make a chance down the inside again, defended by Rosina. But again, the pressure is obviously working on Rosina. He's having to be defensive. He knows that the back of his car has lost grip. Stephane Ortelli, well, the beard looks like it's growing by the second.
They come up to the left-hander. Lap times have started to drop off now, lapping about 0.4 of a second slower than Frank Stippler behind. Out onto the start-finish straight. The Lamborghini is quite strong out of the final chicane, which causes Laurens Vanthoor a bit of problem. 0.3 of a second, that's what it looks like when you're driving the car.
Watch what happens to the rear of the Lamborghini coming out of turn 1. This time, more control, but it wasn't on the throttle maybe quite as aggressively. Vanthoor again enters the corner, turn 2, then on the wide line, hoping to maybe have the opportunity of the cut in the inside, but not available this time.
Rosina didn't take much curb that time going into turn 1, so maybe that was it, because the curbs will unsettle the cars a little bit.
Absolutely.
Vanthoor nailed the curb, and Rosina gave it a bit of room just to try and save his tyres a little bit.
Well, I think that's a sensible thing to do, and if he gets...
Look, he's quite away from the curbs coming through there.
Yes, I mean, the previous lap he was aggressive over the curbs, this time staying off them, and the car looks better, and of course it makes the tyre... It likes that. It doesn't like being thumped and bashed over curbs.
So, oh, look at that, so close between them. The Lambo is really struggling to get out of those slower chicanes.
All good stuff from Stephane Rosina, because that's now adding further frustration to Laurens Vanthoor. He was quicker, you could see he was quicker into and through the chicane, but he had to get out of the throttle because he was about to overrun the Lamborghini and the consequent contact.
Rosina finished third in the 2009 Porsche Super Cup, so he knows all about defending from cars that are very similar in terms of specification and in terms of straight line speed. And as a result, he's doing a good job out there, the Slovak. 6.5 minutes to go here in Zolder in Belgium. It's the second round of the 2013 FIA GT Series. And this is the main race, the one that counts for points. The winner of this will pick up 25 points, which would move Ortelli and Vanthoor to the top of the championship. If Rosina and Cox won it, it would rocket them up probably to around 3rd or 4th place, considering Alan Day has retired, which would be a pretty decent haul considering this is their first appearance in the series this season. As they head down the back straight, little tighten on the straps. Ortelli is really suffering, isn't he?
Oh, he is. I mean, look at him, his mouth's gone dry, and he's giving us something to, a lozenge or something.
You're heading down to the pit lane in a minute to interview him. Take your Strepsils with him as they come into the chicane. Again, this is where we saw Vanthoor really close in before, but unless the driver in front makes a mistake around this section of the circuit, there's not really an opportunity to make a pass. Through the left-hand kink of 11, down into 12. The Lamborghini just isn't weak in the areas that Vanthoor needs it to be.
No, it's not, and I mean, now that Rosini has sort of stopped being so aggressive on some of the curbs, especially through the chicanes and out of turn 1, where he was offering up a vulnerability, what he's effectively done is slowed his pace down, and it's also slowing the momentum of Laurens Vanthoor. So Vanthoor, with 5 minutes or so of the race remaining, almost needs to give himself a second of a gap and then rush up, but he has to do it at the part of the racetrack where he senses the Lamborghini is its most vulnerable, but also a place that you can make a clean pass. There's no point trying to do it through turns 8, 9 and 10 because they are just completely impossible. We saw that yesterday from a few drivers.
The gap has actually gone up to 0.7 of a second between the two of them across the line, which is the largest gap it's been for a little bit of time now.
Yeah, but to me that's very much more about Vanthoor just backing off and giving himself that little bit of space, a little bit of air. He might be suffering from brake overheating. He's been running so close behind the Lamborghini. It's very hard on brakes, this 16 turn Zolder racetrack. So he just might give it 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes remaining, breathe it for a lap, and then one more shot, because he's probably got the best part of 2 laps after this lap before the flag will be out.
Absolutely. And we saw Vanthoor performing very strongly on the final lap in Nogaro, taking 2 places to finish 3rd on the road as they come down through turn 11 once more. Down into 12. Rosina holds the middle of the road. This is a good opportunity for Vanthoor, but the Lamborghini is very strong coming out of the corners. Hans Reiter, the team boss, he's nervous as well. Fantastic tension building up here in Belgium. Into the final chicane again. And out onto the start-finish straight. It's less than 7/10 now as they come across the line. It's 4/10. This is going to be close. This is going to be very, very interesting to see what Laurens Vanthoor can do. He gets very close into turn 2. Is that an opportunity up the inside? He knows it's towards the inside line. Almost contact between the pair of them. Vanthoor had to get out of it, I think, and get onto the curb a little bit. Up into turn 4 now. The Lamborghini just getting a bit out of shape on the exit of 4 as they head down under the bridge. The Pirelli tyres on the Lamborghini, because of the way they've set it up, starting to struggle a little bit with 3 minutes to go here in Belgium. There's Peter Cox's daughter. She can't cope with the tension either. As they come into the final, the middle chicane now, the Villeneuve chicane. Where is the opportunity for Vanthoor? He's never really been close enough to have a look going down into turn 12, which is a position where we've seen a lot of the overtaking so far. Look, he's maybe 5 car lengths behind. Car 29 has been given a 10-second stop-go penalty for numerous pit stop infringements, which is due to Rosa and Paolo Bonifacio, which means that they are going to not hold on to that second place in Gentleman's Trophy, I don't think. Oh no, they will, because Raja Mascarello's retired, hasn't he? So they will hold on to that second place. Out onto the start-finish straight again. This will be the penultimate lap of the race. Vanthoor needs to do it fast. Look how much later on the brakes he is going into turn 1 compared to Racina. This is where he looked up the inside before, into 2. But there's just nothing doing. Turn 3 is pretty much flat out. Yep, no lifting off from either of them. And then down into turn 4, down a couple of gears. He's closer to the Lamborghini this time than he was previously because of that move he tried to make. The Reiter engineering squad, well, it's fantastic to have them here in the championship. And what a debut to the FIA GT Series they are having this afternoon. This is the battle for the lead of the race. Stephane Racina, the Slovakian, in the 24 Lamborghini. Look at how much Vanthoor pounds those curbs coming through 8 and 9. But it's just not enough. He knows he needs to get as close as possible coming down into this hairpin on the right-hand side, but he just can't do it. It's through turn 10 that the Lamborghini's very strong. Almost a nudge there. Now out towards the final chicane. They'll be coming through to start the final lap. Racina has done brilliantly to hold off the attack of Laurens Vanthoor behind. The two of them still lapping in the 32.7s, which is a very decent lap time. But across the start-finish line they come. About a car length and a half between them. On board with Vanthoor. He's gone for it into turn 1. Does Racina see him coming? He does. He leaves a little bit of space. And holds on to the lead of the race. Into turn 2, Vanthoor's going to try and get the cutback. There's almost a touch, and Racina's still holding the lead. Round of applause in the Reiter garage, because that might be it, you know. Because Racina has built up enough of a gap now. I don't know if he'll be under pressure at all in the remaining part of this lap. Vanthoor knew he had to go for it. Great fair racing between the two of them. Into the chicane. Oh, Vanthoor had to dab on the brakes just coming out of the second one because he tried to take so much speed through. And I think that will be enough now for Stephane Racina to hold on. Into the Villeneuve chicane. Look how much curb Vanthoor is taking. He's not giving up just yet. It's through this right-hander that he needs to keep the pace up, but he's not quite as quick as the Lamborghini through that turn 10. The left-hand kink at 11 is a nothing corner. Down into 12. His last chance is into the final chicane. And he is right up behind the Lamborghini. This could be it. He might be close enough to send a lunge here. The final corner of the race. The battle for the lead in FIA GT. He goes for it. He's not close enough. Racina holds on. But Vanthoor might get the cutback. There's a little bit of a touch. But Stephane Racina has just done enough. The checker flag falls. A fantastic main race here in FIA GT. And And Stephane Ortelli wins the race for Reiter Engineering. He and Peter Cox take the win. Laurens Vanthoor, a spirited drive to second place. Phenomenal racing. Frank Stippler third. Mike Parisi and Andreas Zuber in fourth. René Rast crossed the line in a brilliant fifth place after a wonderful drive from him. And Reiter are delighted. What a finale. What a finale. Peter Cox there, Stephane Ortelli's teammate. And the nerves now can finally ease. Anthony Kumpen crosses the line in 6th. Afanasiev 7th. Bueno in 8th place. Good result for the Brazilian squad. Campanico 9th. Baumann 10th. Jimenez there in 11th ahead of Fabio Anini in 12th. Alvaro Parent will come across the line in 13th place to not pick up any points. But there is Stephane Ortelli. Well, here's a look at Reiter as they go over the line. Cox knows he's got it done. Fantastic stuff. Hans Reiter over the moon with that. Well, as the cars now make their way back to the pit lane, you wouldn't want to get in a fight with Stephane Ortelli in real life, I can assure you that. And it now seems you wouldn't want to get in a fight with him on the racetrack either, because he has defended absolutely brilliantly. Even when Vanthoor threw lunges at him, he gave just enough room to the attacking Belgian and still managed to hold on to the lead. Really, really impressive from Ortelli. There's Vanthoor. Interesting to see what his body language will be like, because the second place is still a great result. It still moves them into the lead of the championship. Laurens Vanthoor and Stephane Ortelli will be in first place in the series going towards the next race, but could have won his home race. You could see how much in that attack, how much it meant to him. But it wasn't quite to be. Vanthoor pulls back into the pit lane. And soon he'll be meeting John Watson down there to have a little chat, so we'll find out then exactly how he feels. And there's Stephane Ortelli on the left-hand side. Stephane Ortelli, we saw him pretty stressed. WRT finishing in 2nd, 3rd and 5th, so their team's championship lead is still going to be phenomenal. But Reiter Engineering receive a round of applause. Look at the crew there on the left-hand side. Nice little rev from Ortelli. Great work from the pair of them. So that was a real hard battle for Stephane Ortelli. There you go. And congratulated by the Reiter mechanics. I've said it a few times today, it's great to have Reiter here in the series. They're going to be here for the rest of the year as well with this Lamborghini, and they have a real opportunity to mount a championship challenge now, because that'll put them up onto 32 points, so they'll be about 4th place in the championship despite missing the opening rounds. And it's good that Ortelli managed to, well, he managed those Pirelli tyres, didn't he, towards the end of the race. He knew that it would be marginal towards the end, and he started driving a little bit differently. And we can now hear from Stephane Ortelli and Peter Cox there with Watty.
Peter Cox, Stephane Ortelli, that was a tense finish, but a great job by you in the opening stint.
Yes, it was. We changed the car. The boys of Reiter Engineering did a fantastic job overnight, and we had a really good car. I had a good start, and Stephane Ortelli did also a good start and let me live. So it was a lot of respect, I think, also from Vanthoor against Stephane. I think it was really clean driving, and Stephane did a good job because the brakes were already on the limit when I went out, so it was not easy for him, but he did really well.
Stephane, how did you deal with that pressure? Because you were under it really the last 20 minutes.
Oh, it was very difficult. I mean, yesterday it was much more difficult. I was much more nervous. Now I knew that I could handle it, and Yeah, I pushed hard. I tried to really concentrate on my job, and this guy made 6 seconds ahead of the second person. So I had to bring it home, and I'm very lucky. So thanks to the team, and thanks to the boys, and thanks to my team.
Well, you also had a great pit stop. The Ryder Engineering guys, good pit stop. Super.
So Peter Cox and Stephane Ortelli delighted with that one. There's Vanthoor and Ortelli. Vanthoor getting congratulated. Looks a little down, doesn't he? After that. A fantastic battle for the lead it was, though. And by the looks of things, a lot of you guys out there enjoyed it as well. The race was a little tame compared to Nogara, where we had the crazy weather and the crazy racing, but it certainly was worth hanging on to the end, wasn't it? There's the number 1 car of Alan Day being lifted back onto the tow truck, but we can now hear from Vanthoor and Ortelli. They're with Mr. John Watson.
Laurens, I thought you were out for a Sunday afternoon drive. You weren't trying hard, were you?
I look quite dead, I think. Yeah, of course I'm a bit disappointed, but I tried everything I could on besides the track, flashing him all the time to make him nervous, but he did a brilliant job, and I was quicker, but again on the bottom power he always could take some meters, and it was difficult to make up. But like I said, Nogara, I cannot always do a magic last lap. I tried everything I could, but at least we're second. It's good for the championship. I didn't want to take too many risks neither, because this is important. So.
Well, it was great entertainment. Stephane Ortelli, I've never seen you look so tense.
Yeah, it's, as we said, it's a short but intense championship, and congratulations to the Lambo. They were better than us today, especially on the low revs. They can accelerate better than us. We could see that at the start, but we also suffer from that in the end of the race, as Laurens said. But okay, today they were better. We will try harder next time. It's difficult, but these points will count at the end, and it's fantastic second place for us.
Well, congratulations to both of you.
So, good stuff from Vanthoor and Ortelli. You can see Vanthoor almost dejected with that second place, which I think is totally natural considering how hard he tried to take that win. And we can quickly hear now from Frank Stippler, so after he finished in 3rd place in the race. He's with John.
Frank Stippler, well done, 3rd place. Hard work by the looks of it.
Yeah, it was some kind of hard work, although we had not the real competitor, but I tried to keep up the speed with the front runners, just in case that something happens in the fight about the victory. But they were brave, and I take the 3rd place. It's a good result for WRT here.
Thank you, well done.
So good to hear from Frank. He and Edvard Sandstrom, after winning in the Nogara main race, have finished 3rd in the Belgian rain race, so no worries at all for them as far as the championship is concerned. They're very much in the fight as well. Here's a look at the results then. 0.4 of a second between them as they cross the line. The Blancpain Reiter Lamborghini winning the race. Peter Cox and Stephane Ortelli. 4th place for Mike Parisi and Andreas Zuber. Decent points all there for Sebastien Loeb Racing, whilst the sister McLaren didn't pick up any points at all. René Rast, the star again, finishing in 5th place after getting past Enzo Eden and Anthony Kumpen. Simonsen and Afanasiev win the Pro-Am Cup race with Carlos Vieira and Cesar Campanico in 2nd. Vieira and Campanico will hold on to their Pro-Am advantage. Ricardo Zonta and Sergio Jimenez in 11th, and Alan Coder and Caca Bueno there in 8th place. Great result for them, the first of the Brazilians. And then further down the field we have the last of our finishers, really. Sebastien Loeb and Alvaro Parent, a real difficult weekend for them. No points picked up. What a shame. Szolzicki and Wright finishing in 14th place. Jan Stovacek and Peter Charouz winning the Gentleman's Trophy ahead of Duda Rosa and Paolo Bonifacio. And then we had retirements from the 2 Fords, the Mercedes and the Nissan on the first lap of Ordonez and Alex Buncombe. A real shame for them. So there you can see Dominic Baumann. On the left-hand side are our Pro-Am winners, Afanasiev and Andreas Simonsen. Then in the middle is Dominic Baumann and Harry Procek, and on the right-hand side there you can see Carlos Vieira. Cesar Campanico, I'm sure, is around there somewhere, lurking, but onto the main podium now come our top 3 in the race in a few moments' time. And what a cracking race everyone here in Belgium was treated to. And onto the podium in 1st position we have Stephane Ortelli and Laurens we have Peter Cox and Stephane Rosina. It was so close I nearly forgot who actually won. Peter Cox and Stephane Rosina onto the top step of the podium. Great to see them on top in the main race. Then we have Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor, second position. And third place is Edvard Sandström and Frank Stippler. And now, on the top step of the podium, the national anthem of Germany.
Okay, thank you once again. A round of applause for
a shortened German national anthem there for the German Reiter engineering team. It's a Dutchman and a Slovakian though on the top step, and it's Holland we go to next, followed by Slovakia, so they'll be hoping to repeat that performance. Here come the trophies. First of all, the third place to Frank Stippler and Edvard Sandström. Good drive from them. A little bit of a quiet drive. Hugo Leroy, the president of the circuit, hands out those trophies. Second place to Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor. And the race winners, Peter Cox and Stephane Rosina. What a fantastic performance here in Zolder for them. So, an impressive weekend of racing, it has to be said. Today's race, as I say, wasn't an absolute barnstormer throughout, but towards the end, it really got entertaining, didn't it? We had some good battles throughout the race, but towards the end, the crescendo of the 1 hour of racing was that battle for the lead, and now the champagne is sprayed. Absolutely top work from Stephane Rosina in defending. Vanthoor manages to pop his cork in the end. Rosina really the man of the day. Well, I guess he and Peter Cox. Cox for pulling out that advantage, but Rosina for defending so brilliantly. And there's a nice bit of a slow-mo of Rosina getting doused in champagne. Pretty energetic from Edvard Sandström to leap off the podium. Great stuff. Great to see them. So delighted to be here in the FIA GT Series and on the podium as well. So the next round, as I say, will be in Zandvoort on the 6th and 7th of July, which is an event we're all looking forward to. Great to have the GTs back amongst the dunes. That always provides some entertaining and spectacular racing. And, well, what a weekend of racing that is in general, because it's also the Formula 3 Masters weekend. So if you're in the vicinity of Zandvoort or the Amsterdam area, I very much suggest you come down that weekend on the 6th and 7th of July. If not, you can join us here. Here's the championship then. Ortelli and Vanthoor have moved into the lead, 2 points clear of Edvard Sandström and Frank Stippler, and look at that. 1 win, 1 appearance for Cox and Rosina, and they're up into third place in the championship, only 12 points off the lead. Mermanov and Rast in fourth, Kumpen and Eid in fifth, and the big losers, Maximilian Buch and Alan Day, have gone from third in the championship to sixth in the championship in just 1 race, which is a real shame for them. But nevertheless, it's Ortelli and Vanthoor on the top of the podium, but it's Peter Cox and Stephane Rosina's day after an entertaining main race here in Zolder. It was a great start from Peter Cox that got the race underway. He managed to take the lead, but in the middle of the pack there was disaster for Sebastien Loeb. Through the melee coming into the right-hander at turn 2, he managed to accidentally tag the Jan Seyfarth Mercedes. Seyfarth was out of the race. This is the view on board with Loeb. The gap was there, then it wasn't, and they were both sent spinning around, and those are the kind of things that Loeb has to learn, and Lucas Ordóñez says, nothing I could do. We had some great battles throughout the field. Nicky Mermanov being bullied out of the way by Carlos Vieira, the two of them going door handle to door handle down the start-finish straight. The BMW and Lamborghini would then follow through as well. in some fantastic midfield racing. And there was the move from Harry Proschik. Very good move, actually. Very late on the brakes. Duda Rosa unfortunately picked up a rear left puncture, which sent him down the order. There was a wheel that was lost from the Ford GT, but we saw both Fords retire, unfortunately. And then René Rast managed to make his way past Enzo Eid coming down into the chicane, much to Nicky Meyer-Melnoff's fight. But the whole crescendo of the race was this battle for the lead. Stefan Rosina just held on to take the victory. They move up into third in the championship. Vanthor tried everything he could. He finishes second and takes the lead of the championship. Join us in Zandvoort in July for the next round of the FIA GT Series. Thank you for joining us.